Chat, constructed set review. For Mirrodin! Constructed set review, chat. We've done all the monocolors. White, blue, black, red, and green. Now we're on to multicolor. All right. This is on YouTube. So all you YouTubers, say hi to everybody. All right. We're live here on Twitch, but also recording for YouTube at the same time. Now, don't forget, like content like this, constructed set reviews, explore, standard, semi-competitive on the ladder, ranked, like that kind of content. Smash that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, give this video a like for the algorithm, because ya boy. And socials in the description below to see the content live, because we do this a couple times a week and would love to see you there. First time chatters sometimes get exclusive benefits, like getting shouted out in the Twitters, while also subs getting their benefits as well. So let's see some Magic cards, huh? Now, I understand that some people like Commander, so just for you, you get the first card. Atraxa Grand Unifier. 3 colorless, 1 green, 1 white, 1 blue, 1 black. Legendary Phyrexian Angel. What's her name on Twitter? Or what's their name on Twitter? Loves angels. They'll love this. Flying Vigilance Death Touch Lifelink 7/7. When Atraxa Grand Unifier enters the battlefield, reveal the top 10 cards of your library. For each card type, you may put a card of that type among them of the revealed cards into your hand. Put the rest in the body of your library of any order. And WotC even gave us reminder text. If you notice, there's a new card type in there. Battle. Morrow says there's a new card type, and I have no idea what it means, but I guarantee you it's commander-oriented. But it might be for standard, too. But we have artifact, battle, creature, enchantment, instant, land, planeswalker, sorceries, blah, 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 blah. So, this is not Niv Mizzet Reborn. This is a commander card all the way. So, I just wanted to give the commander players their shout out. And it is a constructed format, so you got your review. Moving on. Bladehold War Whip. 1 white, 1 red, 1 colorless equipment for Mirrodin. Get a 2/2 red rebel creature token when the equipment enters the battlefield. Equip abilities you activate of other equipment cost 1 less to activate. Equipped creature has double strike. Equip 1 red, 1 white, 3 colorless. I put this on here because equip abilities of other equipments, right? 1 less to activate. So some of them might be to 0, some might be to 2 to 1, or vice versa, and etc. The equip cost for this card is through the roof. But getting a 2/2 double striker for 3 is nothing to sneeze at. And what I noticed for these 4 Mirrodin cards as I was going through them is if you're able to blink them, you get more 2/2 tokens. I don't know if that's relevant or not, but I just noticed that it's when it enters, not when you cast it. So if you're able to blink these, yeah, that might be relevant. I don't know if it is or not. I'm just saying. But, yeah. For Mirrodin, they're trying to make these equip stuff, like, relevant, and I don't know how much more you can make them without breaking them, but this every new set with equipment cards, they find something. And for Mirrodin is just adding bigger things to equip stuff. And yeah. Cephalopod Sentry. 2 colorless, 1 white, 1 blue artifact Phyrexian Squid. Star 5. Flying. Sentry's power is equal to the number of artifacts you control. So usually I don't put these on here just because they're 4-drops or they're big. They cost a lot and they're artifacts and whatever. But you know what's really obnoxious, chat, is that it's star 5. It's not star 3 or star 4 or whatever. It's star 5. Like, yo, it flies. If you have a few artifacts in play, this can get big really quick. And if you're playing an artifact-based aggro strat, this can get huge. Of course, you got to be very careful about this because, you know, Brotherhood's End is in, and of course, a Braid is. So, artifacts and enchantments are a dime a dozen, and artifact and enchantment hate is a dime a dozen. But, you know, making this into a 3/5 or a 4/5 flyer for 4 is nothing to sneeze at on the cheap, right? So, I'm not saying this is a tier 1 card, but sleeper for sure. Yeah, even at a 1/5, it's out of range of cut down. So imagine if this died to cut down, chat, at 4 mana. I'd be so mad. Charforger, 1 colorless, 1 black, 1 red, Phyrexian Beast, 2/3. Dies to cut down. When Charforger enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 Phyrexian Goblin creature token. When another creature or artifact you control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, put an oil counter on Charforger. Remove 3 oil counters from Charforger. Exile the top card of your library. You may play this card you may play that card this turn. I read this card the first time, and then this time reading it out loud. Oh, this card sucks. I'm moving on. Cinder/Ravager. I apologize for putting that card in this set review. That's a limited card. It might be good and limited, but not for sure. Cinder/Ravager. 4 colorless, 1 red, 1 green Phyrexian Warrior. Good creature type. 5/5. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each permanent you control with an oil counter on it. Vigilance. When Cinder/Ravager enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to each creature your opponent controls. This actually might be good. Because oil is a dime a dozen in this set. So imagine if you go turn 1, oil creature. Turn 2, something oil. Turn 3, herb rask, you know, the oil artifact thing that makes creatures. And then you play something else with oil. Well, now this costs 2 mana, right? It's a 5/5 for 2, that's vigilance. And if there's a lot of 1 toughness creatures out there, you know, like soldiers, right? Yeah. So, I'm not saying this is good by any means, but this is something that oil decks could possibly play and not feel terrible about it, because if you have 1 or 2 oil things in play, it costs 4. If you have 3 things with oil on it, it costs 3. So, like, you could theoretically go, like, 1 drop, 2 drop land, and now you have a 5/5 with vigilance for 3 mana. Right? So yeah, I'm kind of in the Gruul oil. Like, I'm kind of all about it. Like, we're going to try it. Just because I want to play this card. Azuri, Stalker of Spheres. 2 colorless, 1 green, 1 blue. Phyrexian Elf Warrior, legendary creature, 3/3. When Azuri enters the battlefield, you may pay 3. If you do, proliferate twice. When you proliferate, draw a card. So I put this on here again for the commander players, because this is a commander card. This card sucks either way. Proliferate is good, but the problem is that this costs 4 mana and it's a 3/3. I don't care what anybody says. It's a 4-drop. It needs to do something, or be so damn hard to kill, like Shieldred, that you can play it and not feel terrible about it because it's really hard to kill. This is neither either hard to kill or does anything when it enters play. So this card sucks. But it's a commander card. Now this is a playable Magic card. Glissa Sunslayer, 1 colorless, 1 green, 1 black. Legendary creature, Phyrexian Zombie Elf. Good creature types. First strike, Death Touch, 3/3. When Glissa deals damage, or combat damage, to a player, choose 1. You draw a card and lose a life. Destroy target enchantment. Remove up to 3 counters from target permanent. Now, here's the thing. it doesn't matter how they block this. Because whatever they block with outside of a first strike creature, it's dead. So they have to block this. If they don't, they lose their Fable, they lose their Bankbuster, whatever. Or not Bankbuster, it's just enchantment. This draws you a card. You know what else this does? This can possibly kill Planeswalkers. It can reset a Saga for you. It can destroy Sagas, right? And all around, a 3-drop is, albeit it does die to a Braid, but a 3/3 for 3 is already on rate. But the fact that it has First Strike and Death Touch, like, in already good colors as it is, that destroys enchantments, I'm already in. But you mean I get to draw cards with this? Like, imagine if you gave this double strike, right? So, combat damage aside, like, this has a lot of utility on a 3-drop. So, I'm all about this card. Green, black, rock. About it. Jor Kadeen, first Gold Warden. 1 red, 1 white. Legendary Human Rebel. 2/2, trample. Weird. Whenever Jor, first Gold Warden, attacks, it gets X plus X until end of turn, where X is the number of quick creatures you control. If Jor's power is greater or 4 or greater, draw a card. I really wish this was good enough, but no matter how many equipped cards you play, especially in Boros right now with not as good a mana, this is just not it. Like, I understand that it's a 2/2 for 2, and it has trample. And if you have, you don't have to have enough equipped cards. If it just has 4 power, it still gets the card. It still gets the draw card, right? So it doesn't matter if you have the equipped cards or not. Just, you're playing equipment, obviously. So you got to have it, right? If you ever draw a card off this, you're already winning. But the fact is that you have to untap with it. And you have to have 2 equipped creatures. So this incentivizes you to play, like, really, really cheap stuff like Rabbit Battery, Lizard Blades. Like, you need to draw cards off of this. So you got to play the 1-drops that are equipped creatures, Rabbit Battery and others, while also playing the 2-drops. And maybe you can get away with the 3s. But mostly this card wants you to be really, really hyper-aggressive. So, yeah, there's no way that you're not trying to draw cards off this, because the rest of it is like, if I was playing other stuff, I'm not playing equipped creatures or equipped stuff with it. And there's another card that we'll talk about that sort of helps you in that vein, but I don't know if it's good enough. So I'm skeptical on this equip shit, but good enough, like, possibly if the equips are good enough. Because 4 Mirrodin at least gives you creatures, right? Kaido, Dancing Shadow. 2 colorless, 1 blue, 1 black. Legendary Planeswalker Kaido. 3 starting loyalty. Passive. When 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you may return one of them to its owner's hand. If you do, you may activate loyalty abilities of Kaido twice this turn instead of 1. So your creatures. All right. +1. Up to one target creature can't attack or block until your next turn. 0, draw a card. -2, create a 2/2 colorless drone artifact creature token with Death Touch. And when this creature leaves the battlefield, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. So basically, like, there's not a lot of stuff that I want to ETB with, but like, there's parts of it that are powerful, but how many creatures are you trying to bounce with this? You know what I mean? Like, I want to bounce, like, Brutal. Like, do I really want to bounce Brutal Cathar? Do I really want to bounce, other creatures? You know what I mean? Like, let's say for Esper Legends, like, what legends am I bouncing back to my hand? None of them, right? Because, like, None of them have ETB effects. So I want this in a blue-black shell at least, but I want my blue-black stuff to have ETB effects. The problem is not very many of them have that. Like, what are the good blue-black cards? Ledger Shredder? I'm not bouncing that back to my hand. All the stuff that I want to be bounced are all big enough creatures that I don't want them to come back to my hand. So, like, this is, like, very, very awkward, right? Like, I don't know. Like, the card's powerful. Don't get me wrong. And, like, it's good enough. Just, the issue is that if I'm going to bounce a creature, I want that creature to have an ETB effect. Or something that helps me when it enters the battlefield, or something. Because, yeah, I understand that I get to plus twice, and it really probably doesn't matter if I do it. But again, the tempo strategy of this is that I want this to be my curve topper. And all my creatures that come into play, I want them to, you know, have ETB effects. Like, for example, I'm not bouncing my Evolved Sleeper. I'm not bouncing, you know, my Tenacious Underdog. I'm not bouncing Ledger Shredder. I'm not bouncing Shieldred. I'm not bouncing Gix. So, like, what am I bouncing? Right? And that's what stuff you have to solve with this. If you can figure that out, this card might actually do it for you. Where you're not letting stuff attack, and you're doing this tempo thing with the other Kaido, the 3-mana Kaido, that you're getting, like, a bunch of stuff that can't be blocked. And, like, that type of stuff. But again, like, the stuff that I want to ETB. The only ETB effect that I really want is, like, I'm playing this with, like, in tandem with, I want this in tandem with, like, say, like, Arcane Proxy. Or, you know, something that scales, right? But protecting itself, you got to be attacking, right? So, I don't know. I haven't cracked the shell on this, or cracked the code on this. Like, people are just like, just play an Esper and you're fine. And it's just like, not very many things in Esper have ETB effects. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't want to bounce Rafine. I don't want to bounce any of these cards. That's all I'm trying to say. Kaya, Intangible Slayer, 3 colorless, 2 white, 2 black, so a million. Legendary Planeswalker Kaya, not completed, 6 starting loyalty, hexproof. +2, each opponent loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. 0, draw 2 cards, then each opponent may scry 1. -3, exile target creature or enchantment. If it wasn't an aura, create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a 1/1 white spirit creature token, or it's a 1/1 white spirit creature with flying in addition to its other types. I think this card costs too much. Like, it has hexproof, I understand. And you're not targeting it. But, you know what card really kills Planeswalkers a lot? Invoke Despair. And we have Shieldred's Edict. So, much like when I said that, you know, Thrun is hard to kill, the only reason Thrun is hard to kill with those cards is because you're playing with creatures on purpose. With this, you might be curve topping, but this card costs $1 million. And hexproof, while annoying, you're probably trying to, by the time you, like, for example, if you're playing like mono red, by the time they cast this, they're either dying or you're already dead. You're already behind. If you're playing green, they're supposed to be dead. And then if you're playing black or white, you're probably able to get rid of this, or you just invoke Despair and it dies. Like, and you don't really care about the 1/1 part. Because, like, if they copy, say, for example, you know, Fable, it doesn't flip. So, I don't know, man. It costs too much. Like, if this costs, like, 5 or maybe possibly 6, like, I understand you could just, you know, invoke Justice and put it into play for 5, but still, like, I don't know. I don't see it. I think you could do better than this at every Planeswalker at every curve level from 4 all the way to 6. Kethic, Crucible Goliath, 2 colorless, 1 black, 1 red, Legendary creature Phyrexian Beast 4/4. At the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do reveal the reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a non-legendary creature card with lesser mana value, put it onto the battlefield and put the rest at the bottom of your library in a random order. So you sacrifice, you play this on 4, you sacrifice a 3, you get a 2? Do you ever want to do that? What deck wants this? Like, the only reason I would play this is if, like, I was playing, you know, like, I could see this where you sacrifice a Tenacious Underdog and you get an Evolve Sleeper and, like, it's, like, in the late game. But again, like, I don't want to go down with this, if that makes sense. I don't know, like, it's powerful in the sense of if you're able to put those creatures back into play, then so be it. But if you can't, then I don't know what you're trying to do with this. Because even Sacrifice doesn't even want this because they play a lot of 1-drops. So, like, even if they sacrifice a 2, like, at best they're getting Cat, but at worst they're getting, like, Unlucky Witness or, you know, something else. You know what I mean? And it's non-legendary, too. So, that's even worse. So, like, you can't get Thrun. You can't get, like, Mishra. Yeah, I don't think this card cuts it. Powerful, but I just don't know what you're doing with it. Luca, Bound to Ruin. My boy is completed. An asshole, too. 2 colorless, 1 red, 1 hybrid, Phyrexian red or green, 1 green. So 5 mana value, 1 hybrid. Phyrexian. Completed. 5 starting loyalty, +1. Add a green and a red. Spend this mana only to cast creature spells or activate abilities of creatures. -1. Create a 3/3 green Phyrexian Beast creature token with Toxic 1. -4. Luca deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or planeswalker, where X is the greatest power among creatures you controlled as you activated this ability. This card seems better than it reads, and the way it's worded, that minus ability happens regardless. So, for example, because of the way it's worded, because it says controlled as you activated the ability, meaning that you get priority to activate it. So if, like, you had, like, just for the sake of argument, you have a Titan of Industry and you -4 when you cast it and they kill it, you're dealing 7 damage to a lot of shit. So, because it was as you activated it. So, I think this is good regardless because you're able to play it at 4 or 5. And I think this goes very, very good with Titan of Industry because you're trying to go from 3 to 5 to 7. So, like, Fable into Luca into Titan of Industry. Or you can go 2, 4, 5, 7. So, like, you know, Azusa or a creature, or, you know, you're waiting for Fable or you're waiting for the 4. Whatever. Right? The thing that sucks about this card is normally when you have something that allows you to add 2 mana, the 2 mana is usually played to, like, you know, to play like Reckoner Bankbuster or something that allows you to either draw a card or whatever. Now, you can draw for Reckoner Bankbuster, but it has to be a creature. But normally the 5-drop that people are playing is usually Mightstone and Weakstone. Now, is this card as good as that or worse or better? Not sure. But the fact that this 5-mana theoretical sweeper, but you have to have a big creature, and it also contends with Thrun. So, like, I don't know. Like, you got to figure out how to construct your deck in a way where Luca is on curve, like either at turn 4 or turn 3, whatever, right? And you got to have big enough creatures. So I think this is one of those where you're playing, like, green-red monsters and, like, all your stuff is big. And then Luca's kind of here to, like, kill all the creatures. Stuff like that. But the fact that you can play it on 4 is very good because it doesn't matter if it goes starting loyalty 3 and then you plus it, because you could still minus it to give it something to protect itself on an earlier turn. So you could play a turn 2 Mana Dork and then play it on 3 and then minus to being at 2. And then the next turn you could play a land, you're at 5 mana plus it, then play Time of Industry. So it goes on curve either way, and it's better than it looks. Malcator Purity Overseer. 1 white, 1 blue, 1 colorless, legendary Phyrexian Elephant Wizard. 1/1. When Malcator Purity Overseer enters the battlefield, create a 3/3 colorless Phyrexian Golem artifact creature token. Jesus. How many words do you need to create a damn artifact creature token? At the beginning of your end step, if 3 or more artifacts entered the battlefield under your control this turn, create a 3/3 Golem. Basically, create another 3/3 Golem. So, I saw this, and then I remembered that we have Hive, right? So what a deck that I was building, I didn't finish it, was, can you find a way to put 3 artifacts on the same turn that you play Malcator? So like, Hive gives you an artifact might on turn 3. The moment that you untap, you get it, right? But there's no artifact land in this format. So you can't go Hive into untap, play artifact land, play Malcator, and get 2 3/3 golems. So the only way that you're able to do this is you either have to do this in Explorer, where you have Mox Amber, or something like Ornithopter. But in Standard, there's no way, as far as I know, to be able to play this on 3 and get 3 artifacts in play on the same turn. Unless you have 2 Hives, obviously, but like, I just want to put as many golems into play, right? And the card's cool, just I don't like my cards dying that it costs 3 mana that die to cut down. Like, it's just a callback to Blade Splicer is all. But you get to add more golem tokens on the same turn. But this dying to every removal spell known to mana is just not good. Like, it's a meme, or rather not a meme, but, you know, you can build around it. The problem is that it's still a damn 1/1, right? Unfortunate. I don't know if this is playable in the Explorer either, because even worse. Miglaw's Maze Crusher. 1 colorless, 1 red, 1 green. Excuse me. Legendary creature. Phyrexian Beast, 4/4. When Maze Crusher enters the battlefield, or Maze Crusher enters the battlefield with 5 oil counters on it. 1 mana, remove an oil counter. It gains Vigilance and Menace until end of turn. 2, remove 2 oil counters from it. It gains +2/+2 until end of turn. Remove 3 oil counters, 3 mana. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. This card's cool. 3 mana 4/4 is already good on rate. But now you get to, you know, get Vigilance and Menace, or possibly be a 6/6, or you get rid of 3 oil counters and you get to destroy a Fable, or a Reckoner Bankbuster. Or if you're able to put more oil counters on it, you could do it twice. So proliferate with this. Again, another oil card, right? So I told you, turn 1 oil guy, turn 2 oil guy, turn 3 oil guy, turn 4, kill your thing with a land. That's 4 damage from the oil bruh on turn 4. Assuming everything, you know, all things being equal. I think this card's actually good though. Like, by itself. Like, if you just played this in a green-red aggro deck, it's still good. It's a 4/4 for 3. And you can make it very, very difficult to block and difficult to get through, because it'll get Vigilance. And really, I think that's really the draw to the card. Like, yeah, you could destroy a Fable, but the fact that you can theoretically 5 turns in a row make it hard to block and it still blocks is hella relevant. Nahiri the Unforgiving. Apparently she don't have arms anymore. One red, one white, one colorless, one hybrid red-white Phyrexian. So 4 total mana value. Legendary Planeswalker Nahiri. Completed. 5 starting loyalty at 4 mana, chat. +1 until your next turn, up to 1 target creature attacks a player, each combat if able. +1, discard a card, then draw a card. 0, exile target creature or equipment card with mana value less than Nahiri's loyalty from your graveyard. Create a token that's a copy of it. That token gains haste, exile at the beginning of your next end step. Chat. So, when I read this card, I completely misread it. If you read the +1, it says until your next turn, up to one creature attacks a player. Meaning, you're not attacking Nahiri. Alright? There is no ultimate. However, in standard, you're able to exile equipment cards and creatures from the graveyard and getting ETB effects for Mirrodin, and whatever creature you need, right? In red white, it could be anything. It could even be a boat. You know how much we want one of those, right? And in Explorer Pioneer, you get a Greasefang, so, and you get it for 3 mana. So, yeah. Isn't that annoying? Greasefang gets basically its best card, and now you're not playing Abzan anymore. And do we like Grease? No. But you can't ignore it. Like, you can't ignore Mardu Greasefang with a Planeswalker that basically does what you want, right? It does everything it wants to do, right? And even if you play it for 3 mana, you still get to +1 and discard a card, and then it gets to 4, and then you still get the Greasefang on that turn anyway. So, yeah, it's annoying. But it's good, and I think we'll see play in both formats. Maybe not Explorer, not for the reasons for equipment, but you still get the creature, right? What's annoying is you don't get an artifact. So, like, you can't get, like, Bank Buster or vehicles or whatever, which I guess is relevant. Like, I guess it's like, could you really want that, Ovika, Enigma, Goliath. 5 colorless, 1 blue, 1 red, so 7 mana value. Legendary creature, Phyrexia Nightmare. Flying, ward 3, and pay 3 life. Jesus. 6/6. When you cast a non-creature spell, create X 1/1 Phyrexian Goblin creature tokens, where X is the mana value of the spell, of the mana value of that spell. They gain haste until end of turn. All I want to do is just cheat this into play. And not only do you have to pay the ward, you got to pay twice. You got to pay 3 mana and 3 life. Good luck. If you find a way to counter a spell, this card's really, really hard to deal with. The creature tokens themselves don't have flying, but if you cast a 4 drop, Memory Deluge or a counter spell for 3 mana or even 2 mana, right? Those tokens stay in play. And they're goblins, although I don't think that really matters. But they stay in play. So, this is a game ender for Izzet. I just don't know if it's better than Hullbreaker Horror, because that's still in the format. So, I don't know if this is good enough, but the ward has me thinking, like, is it better than playing Hullbreaker Horror at the end of somebody's turn? And that's really the question you have to answer. Or you just play fucking both of them. I mean, 1 of each. Or 2 of each. Hell. Like, I don't know. This card's annoying, though. Because you got to have 5 mana minimum to get rid of it. And you got to pay 3 life. So if you're like a low life total, like, you're still going to take damage, right? I don't think this sees play in Explorer, but Standard, this card's annoying. I just don't know if it's better than Hullbreaker Order. Raya, Ivor, Bane of Bladehold. 2 colors, 1 white, 1 black. 3/4 legendary creature Phyrexian Knight. Battle Cry. So Battle Cry is returned. For those who don't know, Battle Cry is whenever this creature attacks, each other attacking creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So basically, when this attacks and you got 2 other creatures, those creatures get +1/+0. At the beginning of combat on your turn, the next time target creature would deal combat damage to 1 or more of your creatures, this combat prevent that damage. If damage is prevented this way, create that many 1/1 colorless might artifact creature tokens with toxic, and this creature can't block. This is a weird card, right? Like, I don't think this card's a turkey. I don't think this card's that good. But let's be real here. Okay? This does something the moment it enters play. It doesn't gain the battle cry, but it nerfs a creature. So for example, if your opponent has Shieldred, right? You could attack into it and not feel stupid. Because you just basically, put that, and if it blocks, you're preventing the damage and you get 4 mites. Now they can't block, but that doesn't matter, right? I'm not sure if you want to be in 3 colors though. And the colors that you want to be for the toxic deck is green and white minimum, because you get Rot Priest. Problem is if you add black to it, your mana sucks. Because 2 out of the 3 colors don't have fast lands. So yeah, you get Ragerverge Thicket, the green-white land, but you don't have, say, Concealed Courtyard or Blooming Marsh, which is the green, the black-white and the green-black land, respectively. So I don't think this card's bad in the sense of, like, this card's fucking terrible, no. But I don't think this card's, like, that good. It's just, it allows you to attack into, if you're playing the toxic deck, it allows you to force through poison damage. Because it stops one creature from blocking. Because if you block, you're giving them more toxic creatures. Obviously, they can't block with those, but that doesn't matter, right? It's not, like, I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's bad either. It's kind of like one of those cards, like, it's a curve topper, and you're playing it in toxic. The issue is that it's probably a tier lower than the green-white stuff. Unless you want to play 3 colors, which, I mean, like I said, it's not the worst. Like, it's not like Green Sun's Twilight or, some other cards we've talked about. But, I mean, it's not up in the upper echelon tier of, like, Elesh Norn and, other cards like that. Tyvar Jubilant Brawler. 1 colorless, 1 black, 1 green. Legendary Planeswalker Tyvar, 3 starting loyalty. You may activate abilities of creatures you control as though those creatures had haste. +1, untap up to 1 target creature. -2, mill 3 cards. Then you may return a creature card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Chat, this card is obnoxious. It's a 3 mana planeswalker that basically says if all your elves have haste. Oh, and by the way, it's all creatures. So, you play a 1-drop, you play a 2-drop, and, you're playing a bunch of creatures. Let's say you're playing a Priest of Forgotten Gods, right? Your priest has haste, right? Because it can activate on the turn you play it. You play this with Jund. Your Blood Tithe Harvesters now have haste, so you can play them and sack them the moment they come into play. What I really think this card really highlights, though, is that this card is the elves, like, this card is very, very good in elves. Or any small creature deck, because the thing that elves had an issue with in Explorer specifically, my problem with elves in that format was if Rakdos just killed every single creature you played every single turn, even if you drew a couple cards off of Leaf Crown, and you didn't get enough stuff, like, you couldn't outgrind them. Tyvar says that means nothing now, because you can return Leaf Crown back to the battlefield, or you can return Elvish War Master, right? I don't know if that puts it over the top, but you're already playing Golgari anyway because you're playing with Shaman of the Pack. Now, you can't return Shaman of the Pack, but that doesn't matter. All you're trying to do is return the 2-drops. That's all you care about. Leaf Crown, War Master, whatever. Because if you're able to return any of those on your turn, and you're able to cast something to draw a card off of it, you've already done it, right? So, and you're able to play this on turn 2. Yeah, Clan Caller, same thing, right? And that activated ability has haste too. So you can put Clan Caller into play, and if you have 6 mana, automatically activate. So, like, I think this card's, like, in Pioneer already, like, for elves specifically, that's good. You know what else is absurd? Let's say you go turn 1 nothing, turn 2 Jace, and they kill it, right? Play Tyvar, put Jace back into play, tap, flip. You'd have to play, like, Consider on turn 1. But point being is, in Pioneer, you could flip Jace on turn 3. Because there'd be 5 cards in the battlefield, or 5 cards in the bin. So you Consider, bin the first card, draw, play Jace, they kill it, play Tyvar, put Jace into play, you already milled 3 cards, so there's 5 cards in the bin. Activate Jace because it has haste, or the activate ability has haste, discard a card, flip Jace. So, like, there's a lot of stuff you could do with Tyvar, and it's not just in Standard. Modern, I'm afraid. So if you're a Modern and this card's coming, I don't know what you do. Because this says I got combo potential all over. And honestly, this might actually be relevant in Elves in Standard too. I just don't know how many activated ability cards you have in Standard. Because this card goes in a lot of decks, and it could go in a lot of archetypes, and this card's very, very powerful. And it's not just in Standard either. Venser Corpse Puppet. 1 black, 1 color, or excuse me, 1 blue, 1 black. Legendary creature, Phyrexian Zombie Wizard. Very good creature types. Lifelink Toxic 1/1/3. Whenever you proliferate, choose 1. If you don't control a creature named the Hallowed Sentinel, create the Hallowed Sentinel, a legendary 3/3 colorless golem Phyrexian artifact creature token, or target artifact creature you control gains flying and lifelink until end of turn. So if you're playing proliferate cards, you're playing this. Venser is very good. It's a 2-drop, 1/3, albeit, you know, but it does have stuff. What I don't like is that it doesn't fly, but you can give, you know, the artifact creature flying. If you ever get to create a 3/3 off of this and it doesn't die, like, you're doing it. And this coupled with, you know, Drowning Ichor and Experimental Augury and ways to cast stuff out of your graveyard for the proliferate stuff, like Founding of the Third Path, and hell, I might even try to put Tyvar in there to replay all the 2-drops, right? So I don't know if the 2-drop is worth it, but it's also a wizard. So I don't know if that matters in Explorer, Pioneer, or older formats, but this is kind of like, it's not the same as Ledger Shredder, but this 2-drop is the proliferate card that you want. So if you're playing proliferate cards, you're playing this. All right. Lastly, Void Wing Hybrid. 1 black, 1 blue, 2/1 Phyrexian Bat, flying, toxic 1. When you proliferate, return Void Wing Hybrid from your graveyard to your hand. So this card basically says anytime that you have something like, you know, looting effects or whatever, you want this card to be in your hand. Because when you cast your proliferate stuff, you want it to, you know, return to your hand. And this is like your, you know, your card advantage. Is it good enough? I don't know. It's a 2-drop that blocks Blood Tithe Harvester. I'll give it that. And if you ever proliferate and bring it back from the graveyard, I think you're doing it. You just gotta hope that you can untap with it so that they don't play Graveyard Trespasser on the same turn. But that's the only reason. If you're playing proliferate, you might want to play this just because it allows you to not. You're negating the draw or discard draw discard by, you know, basically drawing 2 cards, but the second card that you draw is always a 2/1 flyer for 2. That theoretically can, you know, kill the opponent. Only playable in standard and limited though. All right. So that was all of the gold border cards. We are about 6 hours in. 5 hours in. All right, we've done them all besides colorless. So if there's multicolor cards that I did not talk about, put them in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification button. Again, socials and everything in the description below with the Twitch link to see content like this live and talk with the chat as well. All right, see you in the next one. Twitchers, we're going to colorless and lands.